Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head down to Yorkshire once again. We're going to revisit Knaresborough, which is of course home to the Roosters Brewery, and this is another beer that they did in collaboration for their 25th anniversary. So we're going to have a taste of the By Ek today, which is a Clementine IPA. It comes in at 6.8% and this is a collaboration with Beavertown from London. Now I have actually tried this beer before. The night before I was actually filming this review, I had this beer on cask at the Head of Steam in Durham, and it was actually, you know, it was quite nice actually, but as I've said in a couple of videos, I'm not such a great fan of cask conditioning when it comes to beer. I have to admit I'm more of a keg man, and I think that's just because when I got into beers it was really German beers that kind of set me off. But looking forward to trying this one in the can, and we'll see how we get on. I will try and make a few comparisons of this version, the can version, with the cask version for you guys as well. So hopefully you enjoy my take on this beer, and I know that it is a pretty nice one. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, of course, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website's the link to my other reviews that I've done, both from Roosters Brewery and from Beavertown. No doubt there will be more from both in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, prefecture, county, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the English beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to kick off with Roosters Brewery then. So as I've told you before, Roosters Brewery were founded back in 1993 by Sean Franklin and his wife Alison, and they're based in Knaresborough in Yorkshire. But he'd previously founded the Franklin's Brewery, which he then sold on in 1986, and apparently he was just quite a perfectionist when it comes to brewing and storing beer, and he'd also been heavily involved in CAMRA for a number of years, and also the UK Hop Association. But the brewery started off as a cask-only brewery, and they became known for putting a lot of flavour into their beers at a time when most breweries, even the real ale ones, were kind of stripping back, and they won many awards as a result of this. If you go on their website, there's a huge list of all the different medals and things that they actually won. But in 2001, Sean decided that he wanted to retire, and he sold the brewery to the Fozzard family. So Ian Fozzard, who kind of headed the family group that took over, he had a background as an accountant. He worked in general management for a number of years as well, and he'd been a long-time member of CAMRA and was involved in the Rodent Inns group, who'd taken over a number of inns and kind of real ale pubs throughout Yorkshire and basically given them another lease of life. But he now runs the brewery with his sons Tom and Oliver. Oliver had actually worked in brewing with the Daleside Brewery in Harrogate, and then with Copper Dragon as well, and he actually did a little bit of an apprenticeship with Sean Franklin when they took over for about 7 months, so he could learn how to actually brew the beers. And then also just a little bit about the equipment and things that they were buying as well. But Tom had a background in publishing and journalism, and he was working in beer writs in Leeds for a while as well, and was getting into all these home brewing, just basically learning a lot of things about beer. But he's now the commercial manager of the brewery, and over the years they've continued to increase their capacity, and in 2014 they became one of the first English breweries to install a canning line at the brewery, and the following year they actually started to export their beer as well. And this year, of course, 2018, they celebrated their 25th anniversary, and they're doing a number of collaboration beers as part of the celebrations for that. I'm not sure how many they're going to do, but they do seem to be going around the kind of well-known English craft breweries. They've got one with Magic Rock, they've got this one of course with Beavertown, and I'm not sure if they will try and do something with the likes of Cloudwater or something like that. But interesting times for Rooster. It is cool to see an established brewery really start to push the kind of experimental beer things, because they've obviously been around for quite a while, but it's only recently they've actually kind of got their name out there a little bit more with the canning and things like that. But it is cool to see that one of the more established breweries is still going strong. But if you want to learn a little bit more about those guys, check out the brewery website in the description below. I've just kind of gone through their company history and taken a few notes and things for you guys, but they've got a nice big booklet there on the website that you can actually sit and read through. But anyway, on to Beavertown then. So Beavertown Brewery were established back in December 2011 by Logan Plant, who I believe is Robert Plant's son from Led Zeppelin. Beardy Beer Reviews, or Brett from Beardy Beer Reviews corrected me on that. I wasn't sure if it was the son or the grandson, but the other guy involved there is Byron Knight, and they started off at in the kitchen of Duke's Brewing Q in de Beauvoir in Hackney in London. And Beavertown, of course, is the old Cockney name given to this particular area of London. The original one, of course, is French. But the brew house was located opposite the Smokers of Barbecue restaurant, and they ran very, very small 650 litre brews in the beginning. And my very first review actually that you'll see from Beavertown, it was when they were still doing bottles, which is really unusual. But in March 2013 they moved out of their home at Duke's Brew and Q into their new brew site in Fish Island in London, and since then they've actually moved once again to a new 11,000 square foot facility which is in Tottenham Hale, and this is where they have their tap room as well, and they're constantly expanding their capacity and stuff down there. They're always trying to get a little bit more out of their brewery and things, but they're well known for their IPAs and stuff these days, and Beavertown are doing just some really, really awesome stuff. So it is really cool to see one of the really kind of modern, punchy craft breweries collaborating with one of the almost, I don't know if it's right to say the old heads, but one of the breweries that's been around for quite a wee while in there and really trying to get into the experimental side of things as well. But two very good breweries involved in this one of them very established, one of them of course is, well, is established, but you know, they're really one of the kind of big names in English craft beer these days, so this one is a really quite interesting collaboration. It's good to see, that's what craft beer is all about. It's about experimentation and, you know, meeting new people and all of these kind of things. But yeah, that's all you need to know about the two breweries there. Again, if you want to read a little bit more about Beavertown, make sure you check out their website in the description below. But there you can see the artwork on this one. There, of course, is the rooster symbol. You can see the clementine here. I looked up clementine, and I'm sure it's meant to be a sort of crossbreed between a sweet orange and a kind of some sort of sharp mandarin, something like that. So the clementine is kinda just a type of orange, but according to the EU directives you have to call it a clementine or a clementine. But it says on the back here, Bayek is a clementine IPA brewed with London's Beavertown Brewery, and it's beer number 3 of our 25th anniversary collaboration project. I must have missed the first one actually. But fresh clementine peel, pulp and juice have been added to a blend of 3 orangey hops, so Amarillo, Crystal and Pacifica. Oh, Pacifica, I have to admit I do enjoy a bit of Pacifica from New Zealand. I never really come across the Crystal hop, and they've also got Germany's Mandarina Bavaria hop in there for dry hopping as well. Again, Mandarina Bavaria is a really, really nice hop, and the Germans are starting to experiment a little bit with these kind of high alpha acid hops too. There you can see the Beavertown symbol on the back there. I'm just checking that you're seeing that on the camera. The Roosters 25th anniversary there, but nicely presented, this one, limited edition, lightly filtered, and yeah, should be a nice beer. So without further ado then, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. As I said, it's 6.8% IPA, and it's got some really nice hops into this one. Amarillo, Crystal, Pacifica, and then the Mandarina Bavaria. Should be really cool. It would have been cool actually. I wonder why they didn't think to put Mosaic and Azaka in it as well. That would have made it an absolute beast of a beer. But yeah, no, it's nice as it is from what I remember of the cask edition. But as you can see, again, the oranges, that orangey note of this one comes out really quite nicely. But yeah, as you can see, it's a nice kind of clear, quite a rich golden colour, this one. There's a solid finger of a frothy head on that. I would say it's a cream colour rather than a perfect white. 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head there. If I put my fingers behind the glass, you can see there is a degree of transparency to that beer, but it does have a little bit of a haze to it. But yeah, it looks really nice. You can smell some of these juicy oranges coming off it. So let's take a closer look then and just see how we get on with the aroma. Yeah, you know, as you would expect, a lot of oranges in there. You can smell a little bit of the oilier orange. I always find Amarillo gives you a little bit more of an oily orange. Pacifica, you know, it is orange, but I've not come across it enough to kind of isolate it in any sort of way or to describe it a little bit more. Mosaic, for example, I always find it gives you a lighter kind of tangerine note, and the Azaka, it's a little bit sharper. It kind of gives you a mandarin-y kind of aroma. And Mandarina Bavaria, it's an interesting one because it's got a nice juicy orange, but it also has a little bit of that kind of typical German noble hop quality, just that kind of light earthiness I always find. But this is an interesting beer. I mean, you can smell the English malt in this. It's definitely got that kind of bready, grainy quality that you expect of English malt. But yeah, the bready malt, it's almost got that kind of bread and butter note. I'm sure I commented about that with the Northern Powerhouse as well. They do seem to like that kind of bready, typically English kind of malt base, if you like. But yeah, some bready notes, a little bit of a biscuit note. I'm not sure if there's quite some caramel in there or that. But yeah, in terms of the hoppy side of things, it leans more towards the grassy side of things. It doesn't have so much of a kind of floral kick to it or a piney kick or anything like that. Definitely more grassy than anything else. But it's definitely, you know, it leans towards the orangey side of things. It's got a nice bit of an oily, darker orange to it, and it's got a little bit of a kind of almost just lighter tangerine note. So the clementines, when they're adding that to it, as I said, the clementine, from what I remember, is supposed to be like a sweet orange kind of crossed with a sort of sharper mandarin kind of thing. And with this beer, it's interesting to see. It smells more like an oily orange, but you can smell a little bit of that kind of sharper mandarin in there as well, which is quite interesting. But I mean, the main thing to take away, it's an orangey aroma. You know, you can sit and pick about with these things as much as you want, but you can smell, in a way, the juicy quality that this beer has might be a bit of a giveaway that they've added fruit to the brew. It's always interesting because on the actual flavour of the beer, if it's slightly juicier around the edges of your palate, that's what you usually get, or that's how you can usually tell that they've actually added fruit or fruit juice or pulp or things to the beer, rather than it being extracted straight up from the hops. But yeah, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of this one. I love orange flavoured IPAs, and that, as I say, this was why I picked this one out when I was at Head of Steam the other night, or yesterday, was I'm saying the other night. But that was why I wanted to go at this one. But there was another one, of course, that was recommended to me by the guys at Market Hall Wines in Durham. But without further ado then, let's get stuck into this beer. So this is the Bayek, a Clementine IPA from Beavertown in London, part of the 25th anniversary range that is brewed by Roosters down in Knaresborough in Yorkshire. Happy 25th anniversary to the guys at Roosters. Slàinte, skål. Yeah, it's a nice beer, that one. What I'll say about it is for me, maybe it's just that maybe I'm just not a great fan of cask conditioning. For me, beers always have to be chilled a little bit and just have a little bit of crispness to them. This one for me is far better out the can than it is in the cask. It just suits being a little bit colder, I think. But the flavours in this one go together really nicely. I mean, I've always told you on the channel, you know, I love Amarillo, Mosaic and Pacifica, you know, all these orangey hops. This beer hits the spot for me, but I have to admit, when it came to the cask conditioning, I wasn't overly kind of blown away with it or anything. In the can, it's a completely different story. It's really nice. It's definitely more of a kind of easy drinking IPA. It's 6.8%, it's not a session one. But it certainly, you know, in that kind of sense, you could easily drink a few of these. This is a beer that you could drink a few of, no two questions about that. But yeah, malt base in this one is kind of similar actually to the Northern Powerhouse that I had before. It's got a nice kind of bready quality to it. There's a bit of that kind of English grainy malt kind of comes through later on, but it's not quite as pronounced. If you go right down the middle of your tongue, you can feel there's a little bit of a biscuity quality to it there, and almost a little bit of a, you know, there is a little bit of a kind of sweeter, kind of caramel, bread and buttery type thing going on with this beer. It is really nice. At the back corners of the palate, there's a teeny bit of earthiness. There's a little bit of herbal quality in there as well, but as you come further forward along the sides of the tongue, you can definitely feel a little bit of that kind of spicy, floral aromatic note trying to push its way out of the beer. But it's nice. Again, the thing I was talking about before, you can definitely tell they've added fruit to this beer, because with the hops that are in that, the IBUs in this beer should be a little bit higher, but the kind of juicy, fruity pulp thing that they've added to the beer, you can feel that coming out on the edge of your tongue. And it works really nicely. It's actually, there's almost a little bit of a kind of tropical fruit note to this beer as well. There's almost a little bit of a mango or something there, or a passion fruit. There is a little bit of that almost coming out of this beer, because you can feel it. If you just go behind the front curve of your palate, as I always say, that's where you get this little oily bubble where some of these juicy fruity esters start to come out, and there is a little bit of a passion fruit or something in there backing up, but the rest of the beer is a whole mix of all these different oranges. You know, there's a little bit of the kind of tangerine sharpness and tangerine sort of lightness in there. There's a bit of the mandarin sharpness, and then you've got the more oily, just kind of regular orange, if you like, as well. But yeah, it's a nice beer, this one. It's everything in it just goes together really well. It's not so punchy in any one regard. But as I say, what I would say about this beer is it's definitely better with a little bit more of a kind of chill to it and a bit more of the carbonation. It just gives it that little bit of an extra crispness, and it brings out the more oily, orangey qualities of the beer, and it blends really well with the malt base. As the flavour kind of mellows out in this one, you can feel a little bit of the kind of grainy qualities pushing their way out. But it's an absolute, it's a lovely, lovely beer, this one. I do like it. I mean, in terms of the ones you're going to get from Beavertown and things like that, it's not one of these ones that's going to absolutely like blow your head off and things like that. It's one of these beers that's just kind of nicely done, and it's all about how the flavours sort of blend together. Again, as this beer is progressing, I'm just letting it settle. A little bit more of that kind of herbal quality comes out, and some of the spicy kind of floral note is in there as well. It's nicely done. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this beer again. I'd rather try it on keg than cask, though, I'll have to admit. I think I'm kind of gradually coming to the realisation that cask conditioning I'm just not a great fan of. But yeah, I just like how everything kind of goes together in this beer. It's nicely done. So have a go at this one for yourself and see what you think. If you like the orange leaning IPAs, or if you like Amarillo, Pacifica, all of these kind of hops, I think you really are going to enjoy this one. Yeah. That little tropical fruit that it has just underneath it is really cool. You just feel that passion fruit there. And then all the orangey flavours are just coming out around the edge of your tongue as well. It's just really nicely done. In terms of the mouthfeel of this one then, I would say mid-bodied. Carbonation does have a little bit of crispness to it. It's quite an oily beer, this one, and I'm sure I said the same about the Northern Powerhouse as well. It must be a kind of trademark, if you like, of Roosters Brewery. They do like their beers to have a little bit of an oily mouthfeel in my mind. There's a little bit of hoppy bitterness to this one, a lot of juicy fruity quality, and then the malt base has a mixture between sweetness and it has a little bit of the kind of grainy quality pushing through it as well. But overall, it's a nice beer, this one. Have a go at it, because it's not often you're going to find a Clementine IPA. In terms of the clementine element to it, I think there's a little bit of the... It kind of sits somewhere. It's got a little bit of the oily orange quality. It leans a little bit more towards that for me, but it does have a little bit of the kind of sharper, darker flavours that you might expect of the mandarins as well. But it's definitely interesting to see that used in an IPA. And at 6.8%, it is quite an easy drinking one, but the oily mouthfeel that it has does kind of suit that. That probably helps kind of cover the alcohol a little bit. But a really nice beer. I'm glad I got to try it, and hopefully I can try a few more in their anniversary series. I'm not sure how many they're actually going to do, but yeah, it was cool to review this one, and it's been cool to review the Northern Powerhouse for you as well. So hopefully you've enjoyed it. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Check out my social media. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Roosters and from Beavertown, and I'm sure I'll return to both in the near future for some other reviews. But thank you once again for watching the Bayek Clementine IPA 6.8% collaboration for the 25th anniversary of Roosters Brewery, brewed with Beavertown from London. Slàinte just now.